The United States during the 1890s was a nation under cultural, economic, and social change. We were a nation trying to get back on its feet after a brutal civil war. The southern economy and infrastructure had been decimated by 5 years of destruction. But a new day was dawning. There was a shift from agricultural and rural America to industrial and urban. This was deemed one of the most significant decades in U.S. history, as it was the beginning of the Gilded Age. Because the economy was booming, more and more immigrants sought their way to the U.S. to start a new life. With this came many challenges for lower socioeconomic members of society. Women were fighting for suffrage rights, children were being used as cheap source of labor, and the African Americans, well, they were fighting for equality in general. In 1895, one man in particular took a stand for African American rights. Booker T. Washington was a dominant character in the U.S.'s African American community. He was an educator, author, public speaker, and political leader. Washington was highly influenced to stand up for equal rights after whites had taken away blacks' ability to vote for fear of black domination. After white leaders allied with political parties, blacks saw an outrage of events taking place that were meant to intimidate them and prevent them from voting. In effect, voter participation decreased. Seeing that the large majority of blacks living in the South were affected by this, Booker T felt compelled to speak on their behalf. On September 18, 1895, the Cotton States and International Exposition opened up in Atlanta. This event was meant to promote Atlanta to the world, showing visitors from other countries the products and technologies that were being developed. This exposition was also designed to stimulate trade between the South and the rest of the world. Even the president at the time, Grover Cleveland, made an appearance. This event lasted for 100 days, and the most known for one day only. On opening day, Booker T. Washington delivered his Atlanta Compromise speech.
Mr. President, adjustment of the Board of Directors and citizens. 1/3 of the population of the South is of the Negro race. No enterprise, the material, civil, or moral welfare of this section can disregard this element of our population and reach the highest success. I can convey to you, Mr. President and Directors, the sentiment of the masses of my race when I say that in no way have the value and manhood of the American Negro been more fittingly and generously recognized.
Was delivered before thousands of citizens of the U.S. and traveling Europeans. A novel idea, to say the least. The predominantly white audience was taken aback but pleasantly surprised by this powerful African-American speaker. In Washington's speech, he outlined the agreement he hoped whites could make with blacks. He ideally wanted blacks to submit to the whites in exchange for basic education. Appealing to the white man's wallet, Washington urged the employment of the millions of African Americans who already resided in the U.S. rather than hiring new immigrants for labor. His speech literally won over hearts of liberal whites, especially ones hailing from the North, and established his credibility in the political world. Washington was able to cooperate with top political leaders and wealthy philanthropists who started to raise funds for schools and higher educational institutions. The black community seemed to support him, but later on would be some of his biggest critics. Perhaps Washington's beliefs were that if blacks were educated, this would be the first step towards equality. He might have also supposed that by encouraging the employment of the blacks, he was ensuring the security of the United States. Other important black figures did not see his speech in this way. W.E.B. Du Bois, another civil rights activist, saw Washington's speech as weak and unsatisfying with regards to furthering the advancement of African Americans in society. Du Bois felt that his speech was encouraging blacks to settle for minimum instead of fighting for full representation and rights. The Atlanta Compromise, as Washington's speech would later be known, set conflict aside as an agreement seemed to be made between black and white leaders. The agreement adapted the whole of Washington's argument. The blacks would be provided an education, and in turn, they would not be aggressive in the pursuit for other forms of equal treatment. Whites also arranged that they would begin contributing financially to charities and organizations for black educational purposes. While this agreement was never formally written down, blacks knew not to retaliate against the established system and to accept discrimination if it were to come their way. Washington's speech may not have been perfect for all, but without this, doors would not have been open to other civil rights movements. This laid the groundwork for the continuous fights for equal rights for all citizens. It went down as one of the most famous speeches in American history and can be credited for influencing future leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and so on.